All right, let's talk about a challenge that pretty much every student and creator faces. You do all this research, you watch the lectures, you absorb all this amazing complex material. But then what? How do you take all of that and turn it into something sharp, engaging, and memorable? Well, today, we're going to use George Orwell's masterpiece 1984 to figure that out.
So picture this. You've just watched two incredible but super dense academic lectures on 1984. Your brain is firing on all cylinders with all these different threads and ideas. How in the world do you weave all of that together into one powerful, cohesive description? That's exactly the problem we're going to solve today. Let's dive in.
So here's our roadmap. We're going to walk through 6 steps, basically a writer's journey, from confronting all that raw material to crafting a really polished and impactful final piece.
Okay, first things first. We have to really get to grips with our source material. In this case, we're dealing with 2 lectures. One is all about how power in 1984 basically becomes God. The other explores how the totalitarian party actually mimics and even hijacks the structures of organized religion. Our job is to find out how those 2 big ideas connect.
Okay, this part right here, this is where the magic really happens. We're hunting for what you might call the golden thread, that one single, powerful idea that connects both of our sources. This is going to be the backbone of our entire summary.
So let's look at our sources again. On one hand, you have God is power, this idea that the party has achieved a kind of twisted divinity. And on the other, you have this deep critique of religion, showing how totalitarianism just borrows its playbook. So, what's the bridge here? What's the connection?
Boom! There it is. The concept is political religion. That's our golden thread. See, Orwell's point isn't just that the party destroys religion. No, it's way more sinister than that. He's showing us how the party replaces it.
So here's a huge tip. Before you go any further, you absolutely need an elevator pitch for your whole argument. A single, strong, clear sentence that captures the entire point. That's your North Star for everything that follows.
All right, now that we have our central thesis, our anchor, it's time to start building out the body of the argument. We're going to go back to both of those lectures and pull out the most compelling pieces of evidence that support our main idea.
So from that first lecture, God is power, we get these really chilling ideas. You know, the complete absence of any traditional faith, Big Brother being this all-seeing, all-knowing figure, and of course O'Brien's famous line, power isn't a means to an end, power is the end. It's a world where truth itself is whatever the party says it is, even if that means 2 + 2 = 5.
And then, when you pull from the second lecture, the critique of religion, the parallels just jump out at you. It's almost a one-to-one comparison. The party has a hierarchy like the clergy, O'Brien acts like a priest, torture becomes the sick version of confession and penance. I mean, Winston's experience in the ministry of love isn't just about breaking his body, it's about forcibly converting his soul.
And this is what it looks like when you weave all those points together. You see that the party's goal was never just to get rid of religion. It was to reconstruct it, to hijack it. Big Brother becomes the God, the party becomes the church, and simple obedience becomes the highest form of worship. It's absolutely terrifying.
But a really great analysis doesn't just stop at the text itself. To really get what Orwell was warning us about, we need to add another layer. We have to ask ourselves, what was going on in Orwell's life that pushed him to write this profoundly dark vision of the future?
You know, Orwell wasn't just working with abstract theories. He was writing from experience, from his own early rejection of institutional religion to what he witnessed firsthand in the Spanish Civil War, where he saw the church actively supporting fascist authoritarians. His entire life was a lesson in the dangers of absolute power, and you can see that thread running all the way through his work.
And you don't just have to read about it. You can see it. The 1956 film version of 1984 is incredible at bringing this dystopian theology to life. The visuals, the constant feeling of being watched, that dark, oppressive atmosphere, it just visually hammers home everything Orwell was trying to say.
Okay, it's time for the final act. Your conclusion can't just be a summary. It needs to be the knockout punch. This is your last chance to really drive the point home and leave your audience with something that's going to stick with them. And Orwell's warning can really be seen as this horrifying, step-by-step process for how a society collapses. It's like a domino effect. First, you trade away morality for the comfort of authority. Then, truth becomes something that's just manufactured. After that, the individual completely collapses. And finally, freedom is gone. Just a word in an old dictionary.
And that right there is the ultimate point we wanted to make. 1984 is so much more than just a story about a bad government. It is absolutely a political dystopia, but it's also a deep, philosophical, and even theological warning about the profound danger of making power your god.
So we've done all this hard work. We've crafted this amazing argument, but we're not quite done. Now we have to make sure that people can actually find it. For a platform like YouTube, that means optimizing it for digital impact.
Now, using the right hashtags and keywords might seem like a small technical detail, but it's actually crucial. This is how you connect your work to the wider conversation. It's how you make all your academic effort accessible and discoverable to a much bigger audience.
So, there you have it. We started with two pretty dense, complex academic lectures, and through this process, we synthesized them into a single, powerful argument. We found our golden thread, we built our case with evidence, and we landed on a conclusion with real impact. That's the power of good synthesis.
Look, Orwell's warning feels more relevant now than maybe ever before, but he leaves us with a critical question. It's not just a historical what if, it's a very present what now. So, where in our world today do we see this worship of power? And maybe more importantly, what are we going to do about it?